Before Karen Bassily would move from Cairo, Egypt to California, where she'd go on to become a cover model for magazines like Jamaro and Pump. Before Karen Bassily would transition into an Instagram model, earning herself a massive fan base in the process. Before Karen Bassily would launch a YouTube channel and clock in over 60,000 followers on Instagram at the time of this recording. Moving to a new country, especially one which you're totally unfamiliar with, especially the language, well, that can't be easy on anyone. But for model Karen Bassily, it opened up the door to opportunity. Now, originally hailing from the country of Egypt, well, Karen discovered a love for fashion modeling upon her arrival in North America and her introduction to America's Next Top Model. Now, determined to make herself as famous as the faces she saw parading around on her television screen, well, Karen not only taught herself English, but a host of other skills as well, like belly dancing, singing, and horseback riding, to give herself a wide appeal as possible. Each new skill she developed and every photograph she took along the way became a building block in the foundation of her career. And today, well, she is in the midst of turning herself into one of the industry's most promising young stars, with an ever-increasing presence on IG. But how did she go from fleeing violence in Egypt to being featured in music videos for Wiz Khalifa? Well, you're gonna find out in today's episode of Before They're Famous. My name is Michael McCrudden. Let's get into it. Karen Bassily was born on October 10th, 2000 in the city of Cairo, Egypt. Now, that's where she spent the first decade of her life alongside her father, a police officer in Cairo for over 25 years, and her mother, who worked as a lawyer, which means Karen had her very own special episode of Law & Order Egypt unfolding under her roof nearly every single day of the week. Now, outside of simply being a lawyer, well, Karen's mother was also one of the first women in Egypt to ever earn trophies and medals for the sport of horseback riding. Now, this got her on the cover of multiple magazines and newspapers in celebration of her equestrian achievements, and well, she was even kind enough to pass some of this athletic ability along to her kids. Yeah, we're talking good genetics. For instance, Karen grew up participating in horseback riding herself, along with other physical activities like gymnastics, belly dancing, and skateboarding. Now, meanwhile, her younger brother Patrick, well, he would also become an athlete, and he's currently a member of the Saddleback College football team located in Mission Viejo, California, after earning himself 31 offers from schools all over the country. Now, as kids, Karen and Patrick, they always got along well with one another, and both of them grew up with very similar mindsets, holding themselves accountable to some incredibly high standards.
Why did you do this?
Now, in those early days of her childhood, well, Karen was attending a French-speaking all-girls Roman Catholic private school located in Cairo, known as Cairo. Sorry, my French is terrible. Which, this school was lorded by over a series of nuns, and it was founded way back in 1904. So a little bit of French history there for you in Egypt. Who knew? Now, unfortunately, Karen and her family, well, they would be forced to flee from Egypt due to religious persecution. Now, with the majority of the population in Egypt being of the Islamic faith, well, Karen says that her family felt increasingly unsafe in Cairo, not only because of their beliefs, but because her father was constantly in danger as a police officer. Now, that's why in 2011, during the midst of the revolution that unfolded during the early part of that year, well, Karen and her family would flee the city and never look back. Now, at the time, well, Karen was never actually told by her family what was really going on. Instead, her parents lied to her by telling her that they were leaving for a trip to the United States, but that they would return soon enough. When that proved not to be the case, well, it caused a major disruption in Karen's life, as she was suddenly faced with having left her friends and her family behind, only to start over in a different country, one in which she didn't even speak the language. Now, thankfully, Karen is the type of person to give up as soon as she's presented with a challenge, and well, she wound up discovering her life's passion while re-establishing a life for herself in good old America. Now, Karen and her family, they arrived on the shores of Irvine, California in 2011. Now, at that time, well, Karen, she was already multilingual, being fluent in both French and Arabic. Unfortunately, well, neither of those languages are spoken at University Park Elementary School, where she was placed in a newcomers class from 6th grade to 8th. Now, going to school, it proved to be difficult for Karen because she had a hard time fitting in, you know, with the other girls, especially California girls. You got to imagine it was a bit of mean girls, especially with her having that language barrier. So to fix her predicament, well, Karen, she began learning English with the help of fashion magazines and television shows like America's Next Top Model. Now, this also sparked her initial interest in the world of modeling, and her passion for the industry, well, it would develop throughout the next few years as she worked her way through San San Joaquin Middle School and graduated from University High School in Irvine, California. The very same school Will Ferrell, well, he calls that his alma mater. Now, during those years of education, Karen tells us that her favorite class, it was theater because it taught her how to express herself and pushed her out of her comfort zone. After performing in a couple school plays, Karen began to develop her career as a model around 2017, but that doesn't mean she found immediate success. Now, while she picked up enough local work to earn herself something of a reputation, one that made her relatively famous in Irvine, while still just a high school student, it certainly it wasn't enough to make a living. Now, to make matters worse, Karen's mother eventually kicked her out of the house, forcing her to survive on her own as a teenager. Now, that sent Karen looking for run-of-the-mill jobs in order to provide for herself, and she found two, one working at a yogurt land and another working for a local restaurant known as The Stand. Now, more often than not, Karen, she would be out working at yogurt land until 1 in the morning on a weekday, only to crash at a friend's house and then spend $10 to Uber herself to school the next morning. And on the weekend, she'd work shifts at The Stand until they decided to let her go because, well, she was so busy she couldn't work more hours that they were requesting. I know when you're at the bottom, things are even tougher, right? Despite all this, Karen kept her head down and earned her high school diploma. Now, following that, she headed off to the same school her brother one day as well would join, Saddleback Community College, where she's currently majoring in cosmetics at their beauty academy in Laguna Hills, and she hopes to have her official cosmetic license within the year. Now, of course, none of you watching this video are here right now because Karen's especially good at contouring or, defining her face. You're here because in the midst of all this, Karen also managed to transform herself into one of the modeling industry's most promising young stars. Throughout her life's journey, but especially during her time in America, Karen dedicated great time and effort to learn the ins and outs of the modeling industry to equip herself with the skills she needs to stand out amongst a host, of other beautiful people. Being multilingual certainly helps, but it was her self-confidence more than anything else that kept Karen determined to stick to her path and succeed. She started her career by taking her own photos and practicing different poses with the camera on a timer. No joke, guys, I've tried doing a few of these. It's tough work. She'd then upload those images to Instagram, where soon enough, professional photographers managed to find them and began inundating her with requests to shoot her themselves. After accepting her first few jobs, Karen kept networking with each and every new person she met until she developed a big enough following that she found herself participating in the Miss Fashion Global Modeling Competition back in 2020. Karen would make it all the way to the top 5 in that contest, and while she didn't take home first place, it helped her realize that rejection was something she was going to have to get comfortable with if she truly wanted to make it to the top of the industry. Back in my heyday, your boy McCrudden was an actor. Rejection, it was my middle name. Now, following that appearance, Karen began working in shows such as the Orange County Fashion Week, as well as the Los Angeles Fashion Week. Yeah. Now, those experiences helped her gain the necessary exposure and sponsorships to lift her career to the next level, and she soon found herself on the cover of fashion magazines like Pump, Malvi, and Jamaro. Now, well on her way, Karen signed a deal with the PMTM talent agency, and through that organization, she participated in a 6-week acting course under the tutelage of Josh Bursford, which she believed helped her improve her confidence even further while developing her acting skills as well. Now, with all that she managed to accomplish on her own, Karen operates under the motto, confidence is key. After all, that one simple belief has gotten her to where she is today. Now, it's also inspired her to diversify her brand. After coming across Summer Rae's clothing line, Karen started a merch shop of her own. Now, here you can find some killer swimwear, including reversible multicolor bikinis. Not bad. Now, moving forward, Karen plans to accomplish bigger and better things. Not only was she recently the lead model in an Arabic music video, in 2022, she was also featured as an extra in Wiz Khalifa's single, Ready for Love. Now, of course, with the internet being such a big player in the modeling world these days, you can also check out Karen's Instagram account, where you'll come across some unbelievably sultry images that you won't find anywhere else. And the crowd goes wild. Outside of her remarkable professional accomplishments, Karen has even earned her American citizenship. At the age of 20, she finally returned to Egypt for the first time since she left to be reunited with her former friends and family. Now, upon her return to the US, Karen has redoubled her efforts to forge a long-term career in modeling, and she hopes to one day soon walk down the runway of prestigious fashion shows. But most important of all is her simple determination to keep going, never stop, and to continue inspiring others along the way. Now, Karen might still have something of a long road ahead in terms of achieving her ultimate goals, but she'll never let that stop her yet. And why should she start now? All right, guys, so be sure to go and give her a follow. You're missing out if you don't, and I'll see you guys in another video. Boom!